welcome back. You might recognize me. I'm LaNtUrN. We're back for another episode of School of Melee. This time we're going to be talking about cause and effect and looking at the way things evolve over the course of a set. So I think a lot of times when people do analysis, they're looking directly at, oh, okay, I went for the up smash, but he wasn't at high enough percent, so next time I should have done like a up throw, up air sort of thing, right? And they're looking at kind of each specific situation and thinking about how that situation would unfold into the next one, versus what we're going to be talking about a little bit more today is the macro level, how things will evolve over the course of an entire set. So I think a lot of times what this will look like is understanding how the stock is going to end at the beginning, and then noticing how we can kind of shift from one situation into the next, into the third, to ultimately reach our end goal, which is taking the stock. So I know I'm leaving it a little bit more vague now. I have a set pulled up that I think can provide a little bit better of an example of this. But if you've played other games in the FGC, I think you'll be familiar with this idea of a strategy of let me only play situations that my character or that me as a player are strong in, and just hammer those over and over and over. So it's not about winning every single mix-up. It's not about always having the best option, but it's let me set up the entire match, all of these situations in a way that I, in the long run, am just really likely to beat my opponent in, And then it also can change the way that you practice. If you know that you're able to force your opponent into a lot of bad situations where you have like a really strong advantage, being able to take advantage of those more will do you better in the long run. So like an example of this is with Sheik, like tech chasing is already a situation that I'm very, very favored in. Therefore, practicing that more and being stronger in those areas will allow me to play in a way that it'll even change my neutral. Because as my punish evolves and gets better, smarter opponents will realize, oh man, if I get grabbed, that's really, really bad. And so they'll start doing more things that beat grab, right? They'll be using more movement. They won't be shielding as much. Perhaps they'll be jumping. And when they're forced to play in that way, there's like different ways that we can take advantage of it. So the idea is as we kind of watch these stocks, we're looking for larger themes that evolve over the course of the stocks. Is, okay, what actually happened? Not in terms of specific situations, but like what, if you had to pick 3 specific things per stock that helped you take it, what were those things? And then can I do those things more? And then the opposite for your opponent. Like what were the few key situations that your opponent set up that resulted in your loss of a stock? So I think one that comes up really often off the top of my head, if you're a spacey player, is going into the corner, right? And having Marth corner you near the edge, where that's a situation, you could play a mix-up, you could try to run up grab or get some kind of nair or get some momentum going. But if you end up losing that mix-up, the cost is actually a lot higher because once they hit you off stage, they have down tilt, they have a million ways to gimp you. That's a really, really bad spot. So even though you could look at that situation and think about how could I apply some offense or maybe mix up certain movement options, we're going to focus more on getting out of that situation entirely, right? If we're in a really bad spot, rather than trying to force our way out of it or think about like, oh, what are all the different ways that I can like win the situation? Let's just not even play the situation if we don't have to, right? Another very weird example of this is if you have a Sheik Ditto, you can chain grab the other Sheik 0 to death. So if it's a situation they're at really high percent and you have like 2 stocks left, you could also just go Zelda and then they're not able to chain grab you because you only need one more hit. So it seems pretty bizarre, but you're kind of recognizing, like the only way I'm really going to lose this in the long run is if I kind of get chain grabbed twice and I only need to win 1 neutral opening. A little bit of a cheese strategy because Zelda is pretty bad. But it's the bigger picture stuff, which we won't necessarily have time to pick up on while we're playing. This is usually something that we'll play a little bit first, do some analysis, keep in mind these themes, and then bring them back to future matches. So one that I've just noticed, especially like playing against Yoshi, is you can just completely throw out grab. Like the way that Yoshi's hits even work is that sometimes you can grab him pretty much as he's hitting you, and grab has priority over the hit. So you end up just grabbing him anyway. And so you kind of know going into the set, like, okay, I can grab a little bit more than I would be able to otherwise, just because it ends up, I've seen like over the long course of how things go, one, it's easier to hit, and two, like the risk reward is so in my favor that I can just throw it out anyway. This is also why Hungry Box, you'll see he's on a platform, his opponent's on the ground, and he's like spamming shield grab. And it looks insane, right? That like you can't even hit your opponent if they just keep dash dancing, and you're literally opening yourself up to get hit. But it's something where he just knows like the cause and effect of, if I end up hitting this, I end up getting essentially a stock, right? They're going to jump right into my up throw, and I'm going to get a stock off of it. So it's kind of worth that risk reward. And also, I think in a lot of those situations, realizing their opponent might not even have that strong of a punish anyway. So we're going to go ahead and watch some of these stocks with Zane and Cody here, and then afterwards kind of reflect on like what were the big things that moved the needle on this that got from point A to point B. Last piece of personal advice of how I learned this, I think, was trying to get off the ledge against Samus. I just noticed that as soon as I got put on the ledge, I was playing against a Samus that was really good at ledge trapping me, and I was losing that situation over and over and over again. And talking to them about it, the two nuggets that I kind of took away from it is like, I need to be way more careful about what are the situations that put me in a position where I need to grab the ledge in the first place, right? Like maybe prioritizing, you know, I'm okay taking a hit that'll pop me way high in the air versus getting hit off stage would be way worse, because now, again, I'm going to be trapped in that same situation where I'm stuck on the ledge again. The other one is, you know, not trying to kind of force the issue and resetting your position rather than trying to like fight out of a bad spot. I think especially with fast characters like Sheik and Fox, you know, versus say like a Puff. Puff is so slow that yes, if you fight them in the corner, they get a back air, they're probably going to kill you. But ideally, you should be able to move around them, regain center, and kind of fight back to that original spot. So a lot of times, if you're finding yourself really struggling with a particular situation, we shouldn't even necessarily put our resources into getting better at that situation. We should just try to avoid it entirely, usually looking at what came before that situation that put me in this very bad spot in the first place. So let's go ahead and watch some of this. This was from an old Smash Con. We're right in the middle of it. So I think even this is like a lot of great examples of Cody having an idea of what it takes for Zane to actually finish his stock off, right? If you are a Fox, you're at this high percent going against Marth. Marth doesn't have a whole lot of moves that are actually going to kill you outright. You think about like all of his aerials. He's usually going to want a combo where he sets up into something, or he's got to hit a forward smash. So like a lot of what Cody is preparing here are these situations where like he can take that forward air, no problem. He gets hit off stage. He'll be high enough that he has a lot of mix-ups that he knows even before he did the get-up attack prior, like we can see right here, when he's doing this get-up attack, or maybe that was an accident, but in this situation, I'm sure he's still thinking about what are my like escape options here? Like especially right here, he realizes he gets grabbed. He's thinking, or he knows, because he's played a lot of the game, that, all right, you know, the Marth's probably going to up throw me, and when he up throws me, he's not going to have that many options to kill me. As long as I kind of DI up and away, I can actually escape and get out of here. So hits this DI, has the up B. This is something that Mango also does a lot that I think is really good. The go high, never die strategy. Like this is kind of what I was talking about with Samus, where like Fox is not going to die to Marth up air for like a long time. Like he's at 98 right now. He is fine with taking 4 or 5 up airs and being up in the air. It is a way better position that he will eventually get down from, versus if he had not done this up B, maybe he tried to go low, you know, there's a potential chance that Zane doesn't cover it. But if Zane does cover it, he is way more screwed. Being off stage without a jump is way worse than the spot he was in initially. And arguably, even recovering from low is also worse. So he knows, you can see, he double jumps and up Bs. Like he could have also just side B'd out of that same position and gone straight to ledge, and maybe against other characters that was a better idea. But like he knows as he's getting hit that, hey, as long as I go high, I can kind of control the flow of this situation and stop the potential of gimping from even being on the table, right? So same thing here, right? He's pretty much in the exact same situation, and he's kind of realizing, okay, in the long term, yes, this Marth could chain a bunch of up airs on me, but I don't really care about taking like 40% more at this spot, and it's way better than me getting hit off stage and being put in a position where my stock actually could end. This is something me as Sheik playing against Marth, I think comes up all the time. A lot of Marths really do not know how to kill. and they don't know how to set up into it, and I get so much off grab that I will just haphazardly throw out my grab all the time, knowing that even when I miss and they grab me, they usually aren't able to get a great punish off of that. If they demonstrate that they're actually able to edge guard me very well or get a lot of those kill setups, then I have to change the way I'm playing neutral ahead of time because I understand like where the game is flowing to. Another good example of this is situations where you can force your opponent to go to ledge. And I think that sometimes this is kind of laughed off as a meme when someone SDs, you say like mind control, right? But I think there's a certain amount of, if you are putting them in situations where they are forced to go for the ledge dash over and over and over again, you're also increasing the chance that eventually they're going to miss it, which is an ended stock, which is obviously awesome for you. So even setting up weird situations like that where you're they're on ledge and you're maybe spamming some move on stage in a way where they need a ledge dash with a lot of galint, you're putting them in a spot where they're like more likely to mess up and more likely to take the stock just by what you're doing on stage. And I think there's this interesting concept, I actually learned it from basketball, where if you want to be a better shooter, you can also get better at dribbling, right? Because normally as a guy playing defense on me, it's hard to shoot over him. But if I get really, really good at dribbling and I can just go around him, he has to respect that. So usually what they're going to do is back up. And when they back up, it gives me a better shot. So it's kind of a similar thing in Melee where if you have multiple different options, you can use the threat of one option to like scare people into doing another. So this is a classic, like if I have a really strong kill move and my opponent is afraid of it and they're holding shield all the time, well then that opens up the opportunity for me to grab. So we can see Cody here. Going to go ahead, again, going high. He DI'd very high up because he knew pretty much the only way Zane is going to take my stock is if he ends up comboing this into a down air, or if he got sent really far off stage, also would have been hard to get back. So he knows preemptively, like way before any of these situations, like I'm just going to keep going up. Eventually, I'm going to get down. So he's done 3 or 4 different segments that we've all looked at here, but the theme between all of them is go high, never die. And so far, he's taken a lot of percent. But I would say this is actually like really good play from him where he's like extending the duration of his stock. And let's see how this actually ends up going for him. So even then, that still doesn't kill. And he sets up this same up B in the same way where he's kind of saying like, I'm just going to keep going high and eventually like I'm going to pick an angle that I'm going to sneak past you. Zane ends up covering that though. And still he's going high. And then finally that up tilt is going to kill. And that actually was a pretty hard up tilt to kill. So does not end up actually taking the stock here, but really is making Zane work for it, which is great because eventually, if you're making someone do something over and over and over, that's really difficult. Odds are they're going to screw it up at some point, and that's where you can kind of break through. For Cody, that would have looked like keeping his stock, going back to neutral. So right here, we're watching Cody again. This is another interesting like mindfulness of how this can go, where he sees Zane is in the corner. And I don't know if he realized that Zane was jumping and that's why he did this shine, but he's kind of thinking about, right now I have a potential easy out with having this shine set up into some sort of edguard situation where I finish Zane's stock off really early. Maybe he's not thinking about combo situations nearly as much. Let's go ahead and see. He's going to hit this shine. And now Martha's in a very bad spot. So he's kind of thinking preemptively about, he knows Martha's in the corner. He knows he's at low percent. The Martha's at low percent, so there's not a lot of other options he has to like take the stock immediately. But setting up this situation that now, could have been a stock depending on the timing of his shine relative to when Zane is coming back. So like he's thinking about that when he's coming down with those back airs. He's preempting like, how can I actually turn this into a stock? What have I done in the past that actually ends up turning into something? Setting up this situation. Misses the waveland there. Nice forward smash. Okay, so what actually ended up setting up into this? So we can see first he got the knockdown, then he got the up tilt to pop Zane up. So he ends up missing this ledge dash, but he realizes he has this other larger macro strategy, which is very common against Marth. A lot of characters have this. If I can keep him above me, I'm probably going to continue to be in a good position where that's going to favor me in the long run. So like, let me keep Marth in this position, and as long as I can do that, things are probably going to go well for me. So you can see, he prioritizes kind of fast falling. He ends up getting this rising back air. Zane gets hit onto the other platform, ends up
sniping this forward air, and then I think, did Zane lose his jump? Let's see. Right, so Zane kind of realizes he's in this like bad spot because he's above him. He's trying to kind of wriggle out, but Cody sees that he uses that double jump, and then from here, he knows like, all right, Marth doesn't really have nearly as many options without the double jump. I can kind of take the risk, go for the forward smash here, ends up getting a kill off of that. So, almost getting a kill. It looks like it could have been a kill. So, but if we back this up, like what kicked this off was first this knockdown, but then specifically, I would say this up tilt. So before he hit the up tilt, he had an awareness that, okay, when Marth is in the air, he's above me. I usually can like play that situation pretty well. He has a hard time getting down. And like around this percent, I can take the stock. So that is why this up tilt is really strong. It's not necessarily going to kill. It's not necessarily going to combo, but it's going to set up a situation that Cody knows is favorable for him in the long run, right? And he doesn't even end up comboing off of it, but like he could have gone for something else. He could have maybe forward smash, down smash, hit him off stage, or done something else that, you know, maybe he tries to combo and gets like 1-2 more combo hits, and it wouldn't be nearly as bad as a situation, right? Maybe he would have still got 100%, but now the Marth's on stage. So we're going to continue, battle this one out, maybe get the edge guard here. Nice. And I think even this flowchart that he does is kind of a micro example of what I'm talking about, is he's realizing how each of these moves are going to play into each other, where first I'm going to do a high back air. That way, as I'm coming down, I can grab the ledge. So he probably was never going to do a low back air because then he's going to be below the ledge. That's probably going to be a problem. And then as soon as he's here, he's invincible. He's going to use a decent amount of that invincibility and then do the get up into down smash. So if you think about it, if I'm Zane trying to come down, there's like very little opportunities for me to actually weave between Cody's kind of 3 different techniques that he used. One of them was the back air. The other one was grabbing ledge, which would have beat a earlier up B. And then finally, the down smash covering the later up B. Cool. So even like between stocks here, thinking about like what is a bad situation for me, I think another common one here is if I'm playing against a character that has a really good grab game against me, like maybe they can chain grab me or it's ice climbers, in between stocks, taking to the air, kind of realizing like, you know, they might hit me for 30-40%, but I'm, for the most part, preventing them from grabbing me, like at least for now, can be really strong. So we're kind of seeing the flow of the battle ahead of time, or at least taking in input from the past about what are the different larger steps of how someone took the stock, and condensing that into like small, actionable parts of a strategy that we can use that bring the whole stock together. He's going to hit him off stage. Let's see what he does the next time. So, right, kind of running away, doesn't need to engage. Go ahead, take center. I would say that's arguably a little bit more risky here, but maybe he kind of realizes as long as he can make it to the platform, right, he kind of has an out. Interesting. So I think this is, again, you can see the Marth's at 0, and he like tries this running shine. I think this is, again, thinking about 0%, maybe I don't have nearly as many other openers. If I can just like cheese a stock off him right now with the shine, that's actually something that's on the table for me. Almost nothing else is. Maybe that's something worth going for. Also, he overshoots it, right? If we see kind of where Zane is, he's even overshooting where Zane was initially, but Zane, even smarter, dashes all the way back, so even that overshot shine is not far enough, and he's going to end up getting this grab. So this is really good by Zane, but I think Cody is also trying to think about if he had spaced that shine a little bit closer to ledge, then he's safe, because Marth can't dash back forever. He would have fallen off the end of the stage, so you're covered there. If Marth, dashed too far back, he would have just fallen off the end of the stage. Also, if the Marth had shielded, the shine would push him onto ledge, or it would have hit him. But he does not quite space that well enough and ends up in what I would say is a very bad position. Like, this is something where if Zane walked a little bit forward and forward smash to the left, that could be really bad. If he had back thrown, right, again, we're getting gimped, that's really bad. So this is maybe a situation where if I'm Cody and I'm watching this later, I'm kind of thinking about that Marth is in the corner, right, like classic spacey thing, like maybe I don't attack the Marth in the corner and I surrender a little bit of stage. I'm giving up a resource just because I don't even want to play that situation in the corner, even though I would still argue it's winning for Fox, right? The Marth doesn't have as much room to maneuver. More likely, I think the Fox has the advantage, but in the off chance that he loses, he could get punished for it really, really, really badly. So not something you want to always shy away from, but just something you kind of want to be aware of. Ends up using the platform to escape again, and then let's see how Zane ends up finishing this one off. This is interesting. So gets the up throw, and then Cody not using the platform this time. Just really good awareness from Zane about where that up tilt is actually going to end up sending Cody. So let's see, right? Zane, every stock has been going to the corner at low percent, which I think is, again, like his idea of his macro strategy is, hey, when Cody's at really low percent, the only way I'm going to kill him is getting a gimp. So maybe I'm going to just try to set that situation up in the first place. I think the other situation he's a little stronger in is maybe getting a grab in center stage where Cody can't go to the platforms. So if I'm Zane, like I'm already thinking about how my whole punish game evolves, which shapes how I play my neutral. So Cody has already done this kind of situation twice where he's shined Zane in the corner. One time it worked, last time it did not. Let's see what ends up happening this time as they evolve. So Cody's going to poke at him, but he still realizes, like, I'm not going to engage Marth in the corner. I'm not going to let him out for free. And if he tries to go over me, I'm still going to keep threatening him, right? He's sticking to this kind of macro strategy, knowing that the minutia of it is going to work. I also like this shine up smash. It's kind of an evolution on what happened last time. So you can imagine if Zane did that same dash back, dash in, he's now probably going to get clipped by this up smash on the way back, but otherwise it covers like a lot of the same bases that the shine did initially. So again, kind of keeping up this game plan. I think he probably did not mean to have the back air send that way. And let's see how this unfolds. Right? Like this is something where I think the up tilt might not be the best play here because it kind of sets him up in this weird way where if he's going to combo him, he hits him back to center, which allows Zane to get out, which he does. If the back air had hit the other way, I think it would have worked out a lot better for him. Cool. Covering these options. Oh, well, that was crazy. Oh, wow. How did that happen? Cool. So if we go back and watch this from Zane's perspective, I think he's kind of sticking again to that higher level strategy of when Cody's at low percent, I'm going to try to take to the corner and like scrap with him there. And you can see here he ends up getting the grab, and it's a little dicey, but twice he ends up just getting that like raw grab in the corner, crazy nair there, and then ends up finishing that stock at like a very low percent. So it's something to think about. I know like a lot of people definitely do this on a certain level. Like everybody knows, oh, okay, the puff is at high percent and all they're looking for is a rest. I should play around the rest. I think some of that is a little bit easier to implement, but I think the decision making is going to be far better or far more impactful than your execution or like the specific moves that you pick. Like that high level strategy, I think is by far the most important overarching thing. I think that's part of the reason why really good players can win with like almost any character or any handicap is like they're just putting themselves in situations where they're going to win such like a larger portion of the time that even if they're not executing or they're playing a character that they don't even know how to execute properly with, they can still end up getting enough value out of all their decisions that they're going to end up beating their opponent, right? And I think a lot of times this can also look like playing in a way to limit your opponent's options a lot so that you can kind of focus on like a very narrow range of options. If I'm Hungry Box and I'm stalling, like there's only so many things my opponent can hit me with, and I can kind of be a little bit more tuned into like what specifically are they going for, or maybe the Fox is just dash dancing over and over and over, like looking for one specific kind of option from their opponent that they're going to punish. Wow, that was really strong. So I think this is something, if we go back and watch his Zane, like he ends up kind of getting clipped here. off of a bad ledge refresh. Like if he had done the ledge refresh perfectly, he would not have gotten shined. And I think that's something where some players will be in this situation and think, oh man, I messed up my ledge refresh. That's something I should go practice. That's something I should go get better at so I don't get shined next time. Where what I would say is it's the decision making that actually came before that was more of an issue. So we can see like escaping into the corner, except for when the fox has invincibility, he's not worried about getting hit at all. Like you can even see fox could have gotten hit by that up B if he wasn't invincible and possibly gimped. We're not really recognizing that that's part of the situation, in which case I would say going to ledge, not as strong. So if I'm Marth next time, the issue isn't necessarily the execution or the option he picked off of the ledge. Like he could have also fallen and done an up B and that would have changed the timing. But I think it's the positioning ahead of time is what ended up screwing him here. So we'll leave it at that. When you're at home and you're losing to the same player over and over and over again, and you feel like every mix-up is not going your way, maybe the mix-ups that you're choosing to engage with are not the ones that you should be, and there's specific, broader strategies, right, about how you should approach the matchup that are going to serve you better than winning the RPS of a very specific situation. I think this is especially helpful if you find you're losing to the same option over and over and over again, right? Like, oh my gosh, I keep getting grabbed by ice climbers, or like I keep getting forward smashed by Marth. There's probably some common thread in those situations of what set this up and how can I avoid what set up this situation. So we'll leave you with that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I think we'll be back next week. Take care. Have a good one. Cool.